Thanks for joining us this afternoon. So this is the third installment of the Town of Harwich Community Leadership Forum for April 3rd, 2020. This is being taped by Channel 18 for rebroadcast. Faith-based business, nonprofit, etc. A chance for all of us to exchange information and for all of us to then redistribute that information amongst our constituency groups. Great to have so many folks who are able to access the call today. If you are accessing by computer, we would love to see your face. Makes the video that much more impactful. In a moment, I'm going to open it up to Chairman Larry Ballantyne from Harwich Board of Selectmen for any comments he might like to provide. And then I'll offer up updates on behalf of Health Director Megan Eldridge, who is unable to join. Larry, the floor is yours if you want it.
Thank you, Joe. Let me, as I have in the past, give my special thanks to you for organizing this meeting as we try to get the information out. The data and the information is changing, I would say daily, but it's almost hourly. Also, special thanks to Chief Clark, Chief Gillimet, Safety Department's carrying tremendous load, and of course Megan Eldridge, who's really been on the firing line. I couldn't be more proud of Harwich departments and taking this load. And Cindy, I know Williams from Chamber, you've been playing a very active role. Again, thanks for joining this conference, and we'll all learn about what each other is doing. Joe, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for those kind words that we'll be sure to share with everybody. As Larry and I have mentioned, Megan Eldridge, Public Health Director, is truly the leader for the town in regard to this public health crisis. Megan, even on her quote unquote day off, is still working, which I feel badly about, but I understand her drive, desire, and ambition to help us. She's given me some talking points. So if you'll bear with me, I just want to read those. First is to update everybody on the numbers that were updated last evening. Sobering numbers, of course, these are the cases that the state has identified as of last night. There are 8,966 active cases of COVID-19 patients. Unfortunately, the death toll is now at 154. For Barnstable County, our numbers, if you bear with me for a moment, I'm just going to call up specific numbers. For Barnstable County, there are 283 cases in Barnstable County. I apologize, folks. I just lost the screen that I had. Bear with me if you would. So again, number of cases in Barnstable County is 283 as of last night. And unfortunately, the death toll, Barnstable County is at 3. Again, those numbers update daily, every single day of the week by the state by 4 o'clock. There's a directive from DPH that we're not identifying case numbers at the municipal level, with the exception of, I'm sure everybody's aware of the unfortunate death of our Harwich resident who passed away earlier this week, and that was made public by family, so I'll just put that out there. Beyond that, Megan has asked me to just remind everybody of the importance of the stay-at-home advisory that was put in effect and extended by Governor Baker. We also want to let you know that at present, the town is also considering closing access to beaches and parks to affect social distancing. So we'll keep you aware of that. We are aware that Governor Baker has already taken the initiative to close parking access to state beaches. The directive there is for people who are within walking distance to avail themselves of those locations, with, again, a hope and an eye towards social distancing. The Board of Selectmen has been meeting on a truly regular basis. Literally this week, they work Monday, Wednesday. They will meet tonight, Friday. Next week, we expect to do a Tuesday, Thursday schedule and so on and so forth throughout the crisis so that the board has the flexibility and the agility to get into any issues. The board voted Wednesday evening to reset the schedules. And I view it as an optimistic effort that I find to be hopeful, and I am embracing that hope that our town meeting and town election, which were scheduled for May, are scheduled to occur. Annual town meeting is Monday, June 22nd. Annual town election is scheduled for Tuesday, June 30th. So we have an eye towards the future and a hope that we will get there. And I think those are the updates that I'd like to offer on behalf of Megan and the town of Harwich. At this point, I'm just going to open it up to everybody for either comments, questions, or updates. Remind anyone that everybody's on mute. So if you're on computer, be sure to unmute your microphone. If you're on phone, it would be *6 to unmute. So at this point, I'll open it up for anyone to weigh in, please.
Joe, this is Cindy Williams from the Harwich Chamber of Commerce. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start on the updates of the businesses and what the Chamber has been doing, I wanted to take this time and acknowledge the incredible leadership of our interim town administrator, Joe Powers, and to thank him for the guidance he is giving our businesses and the community through this crisis. I hope you all know how fortunate we are to have someone who genuinely cares about his team, the residents, and the business community. Thank you, Joe. The guidance and how you and Megan Eldridge, our health director, are taking care of us is so appreciated. I've written down all my notes so I wouldn't forget anything today. So now I'm going to get into what the businesses and what the Chamber has been up to this week. The Chamber is continuing to send out newsletters, sometimes twice a week, to make sure the businesses and anyone in the community that is signed up for our newsletters know what businesses are up to, but also what's going on locally, statewide, and federally. Some of our businesses are now having online stores so they can be there for you. Some that aren't, such as Dr. Gravity and Dr. Cavity and Protocol, are doing curbside by appointment. So everything that I mentioned today is on our website and Facebook. Some of the other things that we're doing to make sure people are aware of what Harwich is up to during this, I have voiced 50 radio spots that will go on to Coffee Radio for the next 2 weeks, as well as had a wonderful interview with Harwich's own Leo Kakunis on Sunday morning on XTK to continue having our voices out there on a wider level. Anyone that doesn't get our newsletter, please sign up on our website. You can have that as well as seeing our Facebook posts. Also, we're continuing some national campaigns, as many other chambers are doing around the country. Today is the Great American Purchase a Gift Certificate. Last week, there was Tuesday National Takeout Day. Something we started, it may seem silly, but it gives us, as Joe mentioned, the hope of the future. On this Wednesday, we asked via our Facebook for everyone to turn a light on. This can be a porch light, an inside office light, or of course at a resident's home. And to just leave this on. And so when we see the end of the tunnel, we'll all see the hope that we've all been through this together. Finally, as everyone knows, I can be reached 24/7, and please don't feel, please feel that you can reach out even if you just want to talk things through. But we are a very strong community, and I look forward to seeing everyone very, very soon. So please continue the stay at home, the social distancing, but most of all, stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, Cindy, for not the least of which were your kind words. I apologize. Thank you. I'd like to recognize Chris Menard. Chris, I'm going to be biased. Chris used to be my boss at the Family Pantry, and I wasn't able to connect with Chris last week. But Chris, if you'd like to *6 and get on a number of these folks here this week were asking questions on behalf of the pantry. So I'd love to have you speak next if you have a chance.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Chris. Joe, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Chris.
Oh, okay. So the pantry is open. We are open our normal hours as of today. We'll be open tomorrow from 10 to 12. So everything, I'm happy to say, is going well. We've had to really change up our operation in order to accommodate all the social distancing that we need to achieve. We are on a curbside pickup basis now, and all of the volunteers, we actually have moved out of the actual pantry and we're into the warehouse. So we're picking their food off the shopping list directly from pallets so that the volunteers have enough space, that a minimum of 6 feet, oftentimes much more than that, in order to stay safe while they're volunteering at the pantry. So so far we have held our own. We have plenty of food. We've lost a lot of volunteers, but we've had a lot of volunteers step up and do extra shifts, and we've had a pool of people that we can pull from that have come from the community. So far so good. You know, it's one of those things that's so fluid that every day, I was just saying today, I think Tuesday when we open will be the first time that we haven't had to change our operation to accommodate something that has happened in the building. Right down to every person who comes in the building has to have their temperature taken with an infrared thermometer. And I will tell everyone, we are not allowing anyone into the building who is not a volunteer. So we've pretty much shut the place down as tight as we can get it to try to keep that little bug out of the building. And so far, knock on wood, we're still in pretty good shape. So lots of new clients, lots of clients that we haven't seen for a very long time. And for everybody that's on the phone, it is important. We are taking new clients. We do a mini registration with them that's very quick. And then if they stay with us after this virus goes away, then we'll do a full registration. But we are trying to accommodate everybody that shows up at our door. Anybody got questions or anything I can answer?
Chris, thanks for that update. Yeah, what I'd ask if you can stay unmuted. Folks, any questions or comments for Chris at this point? Remember *6 if you're on a phone.
I have a question. This is Tiffany Nicely-Hollick from St. Peter's Lutheran Church. Do you have any need for more volunteers or ways that high school and middle school students could be involved in helping in some way?
Tiffany, how are you? I would tell you that we are being very careful. I would not be comfortable putting children of any age out there. So I would respectfully decline.
Okay.
Just at this point, you know, I would love to have them to be able to do something, but I would not want them to be exposed to something by coming out trying to help. You know, if you're an adult and you want to make that decision, I'm good with that, but no kids at this point, you know. I'll tell you what we could use. We are in need of masks. We've had some nurses and a bunch of different people sewing for us, but if anybody has access to masks or if anybody is sewing masks, we would love to have them for our volunteers. We have plenty of the disinfectants and the gloves and all that kind of stuff, but we are running short on masks. So that is my one appeal at this point.
Okay.
Chris, what's the best way for us to get a collection point and get those masks to you through this group?
You know what? I know people are literally dropping things off, and I should have also noted that we are not taking any food or clothing donations right now out of the, as they say, an abundance of caution. But if anybody had masks of any type, they're literally showing up at the back door, handing us a bag and running. So that would be our, if someone wants to put up their hand and say that you'll collect them and bring them, I am happy for that. Otherwise, I would just ask you to drop them off at the back door of the pantry.
And Chris, just so everybody knows, can you give that address for everyone?
Yes, we're at 133 Queen Anne Road. We're on the same road as the transfer station, on the same side as the transfer station. And the donation door is in the very back door. It says donations, and when you open the door, there's a big sign that says stop. You can literally just drop it right there and turn right back around. So that would be helpful if anybody's out there sewing, which I know a lot of people have been doing, but we need more.
Chris, thank you. And one more time on the address, please.
Chris, question I have to admit, it's not for I will sew anything, but is there a website or someplace if I were to sew that will give directions on how to make masks?
You could Google it. I know there's several different types out there. You know, there's a bunch of different websites out there right now, and I would just encourage you to Google webs for Corona, or there's a different face mask. There's a ton of different things out there, right down to YouTube. So, you know, if you're like me, if you need to know something, you go to YouTube, and somebody will sit there and show you how to do it.
Thank you. And Chris, this was Joe. Can you just state the address one more time, please?
Yes, it's 133 Queen Anne Road in Harwich, and it has a big sign on the building, a sign on the road, big brown building. It's a Morton building. It's hard to miss.
Thanks, Chris. And let me add to the voices of thanks to you and Pat and everybody at the pantry for what you've always done and what you'll continue to do. So please pass that on to your troops. Yep. Anybody else for questions or comments for Chris Menard at the Family Food Pantry?
Father Mark, I just was wondering if they were able to make pickups. They were doing it before, and you know, the people would bring stuff to church, and you would just come by and hop into the church and pick it up. Have you been able to make that connection, or are you not doing that now?
We are not, Father Mark, right now.
Okay.
Just we are the only pickups we are doing. We had to actually quit 2 weeks ago, and I'm sorry we didn't notify you. We should have called and told you that.
No, well, no, I recognized it maybe 2 weeks ago when they were trying to get into the building and I couldn't get there fast enough to let them in.
Yeah, so we are not taking anything. The only thing that we are actually picking up at this point is we're still picking up from the supermarket.
Okay.
But and frankly, the reason we stopped with the donations is that you have to have volunteers to be able to sort all of that. And frankly, we put all hands on deck to food distribution. So there's, it keeps the product out, but also it keeps our volunteers on the food line versus sorting, you know, the donations that might come in from the community.
So if I just want to make sure that, you know, if people come looking to donate food, that we put them in the right direction or whatever.
Well, what I would always just ask them is, we can't take it right now, and you know, if they want to hold on to it, hopefully we'll get past this sooner rather than later, but not right now, Father Mark.
Yeah, they can't get into the church because it's locked, you know, so, okay.
Father Mark, if you have something that's piled up in there and you need us to come get it, I'd be happy to do that if you want to give me a call.
I haven't been in the church in 2 weeks, so I don't know.
Okay, so if there is something there that you want to get out of there, just call me and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Thanks, Father Mark. Anybody else for Chris Menard at the pantry? Chris, thanks again. Really appreciate it. At this point, we have Meg Payne from VNA. Meg, do you want to weigh in on anything? *6 if you're on the phone. All right, Meg, not sure if we've lost the connection. If you do want to weigh in, go right ahead. Otherwise, in the meantime, anybody else that has information or questions, go right ahead. Sorry, I just had to do mute all for the background. Reverend Arakar. Sorry, Reverend. I am not doing well today. Please go right ahead.
You're doing very well. Just wanted to ask, hello to everyone. Thank you for all that you're doing. So important at this time. I wanted to ask how the town was going forward, not so much with the masks that Chris Menard talked about, but the use of masks in general, because I get the feeling that we're almost about to use it for everything we do. Any idea on this?
Reverend, yes, thanks for the question. I just want to caveat my answer that I am not Megan Eldridge, nor do I have the ability to connect with Megan right now, but we have talked about that. And in the short term, we will be following any guidance offered by Department of Public Health with regard to the use of masks. So we are in a stand down mode on that, but ready, willing, and able to respond should a directive come from the state through Department of Public Health. Thank you. Anything else, Reverend, or anyone else? Remember, I've muted you all. So if you're on the phone, *6. If you're on a computer, just be sure to click on your microphone icon.
Hi, it's Elizabeth Harder from the Assembly. I just want to say that Sean O'Brien and everybody at the county is doing a fabulous job, I think. And if people have questions, there's quite a few resources listed at barnstablecounty.org, both for health questions and about the small business loans and everything like that. So please look to the county as a resource if you have questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. That's a great update, and also reminds me to remind everybody that Town of Harwich at harwich-ma.gov. There's a link to a COVID-19 status page, and I believe we have links to those as well. So if you're not able to find something and you don't want to Google, you can try at the town's webpage to start, because we do have that list of resources. And Elizabeth, I'll make sure that we have the proper links to county resources as well. So thank you for that.
Hi,
Sure.
Joe.
Go ahead. Yep.
Just since no one seems to be speaking, just to let you know that at First Church in the center, we're doing a drive-through Palms this Sunday from 10:30 to 11:30, and our parishioners and any other are invited to drive through from the Main Street parking lot behind Broadbrook's house and to drive out via the Sisson Street exit. And there we have a doctor and a dentist and a nurse with us. So you can be assured it will be a safe ritual, and we look forward to placing the palm simply in the windshields of cars as they drive through and wave to them and give them a blessing. So not to be surprised about that activity this Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. What were the hours of that?
It was 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. 1 hour.
We're going to be doing the same thing, Holy Trinity, from 8 to 11. And we're going to have the palms handed out with people with gloved hands so that they don't have any contact.
Great.
Yeah.
Very happy. We'll be praying for you over there.
We'll be praying for you up the hill too.
Can I just let people know we had planned to hand out palms at 10 o'clock on Route 28, but at the urging of the Southern New England new UCC ministers on a call yesterday. They told us not to distribute palms. They just don't want to encourage people to come out at all. So yesterday I canceled that. And we had planned to do it with gloves and stuff, but we don't want to encourage anybody to mix with anybody else right now. And in an abundance of caution have canceled that. If you heard that we were doing it, we're not.
We can
Thank you
respect.
for that information.
Hello, this is Christian Hollick from St. Peter's Lutheran Church. Also express my gratitude to all of you. Was going to mention that our food pantry, which is a satellite of Lower Cape Outreach Council, is continuing on a very limited basis. It is open 1 day a week for a few hours for Harwich residents only, and that's coordinated through LCOC. And our pantry manager has also made a number of changes. Nobody comes into the building. Food is brought out to people in their cars, but it's an additional resource for Harwich residents to make that phone call through LCOC in Orleans, and then they can pick up that food at St. Peter's Lutheran Church. It's open for a few hours, Thursdays only. And otherwise we are reaching out to, as so many of you are, to members through online and telephone calls, and trying to stay connected to a lot of our seniors and homebound people as well.
Thank you. Susan, go right ahead. You're on mute.
I got it. At Pilgrim Church, we've been using Zoom, but now we're getting kind of mixed information about that platform. And I noticed you didn't use it for today's meeting. What's the latest information that you do have about a recommendation for video conferencing?
If I can answer on behalf of the town, I'd like to offer a caveat that what I'm about to say is not an endorsement of any system. However, the town has had wonderful success with GoToMeeting. We analyzed 4 different services and very early on went to GoToMeeting. You'll see in calls like this every now and then we have some bandwidth issues, but other than that, I have not been made aware of any privacy concerns or piracy. Again, not an endorsement, but it's working. Wink, wink. Thank you. Anyone else for updates or information?
Joe, this is Cindy again. I just had someone email me a link on how to make masks, so I'll put that up on the Harwich Chamber's website shortly.
Thank you, Cindy. Very timely and helpful. Thank you for that. Anybody else with anything? Pat, Senator Sears' office?
Yeah, hey Joe, this is Pat Johnson from Senator Sears' office. Thanks everyone. Just had a couple of things. Obviously the legislature is continuing to meet. Yesterday was especially a busy day. Both the House and Senate passed a pretty broad municipal bill that's now been sent to the governor's desk as of late last night. That bill does a number of things about permitting authorities and other public bodies, giving them more flexibility on a whole host of issues. It also, for Cindy, for your purposes, includes the takeout wine and sealed alcohol provision for restaurants that are doing takeout orders. So we anticipate the governor will sign that pretty quickly. So that's on his desk. The House yesterday passed another bill on MCAS testing and other education related provisions, which now arrived in the Senate today. The Senate may have a bit of a few tweaks to that or an alternative proposal, but that's all around the education commissioner and his authority to basically exempt MCAS testing for the year and make a whole host of other changes relative to public schools and how the calendar might change depending on if and when school does resume this year. Then on Monday, or I can't remember which day, maybe Wednesday this week, the Senate passed the unemployment bill, making some further tweaks to extending the amount of time that individuals on the state's traditional unemployment system can be on that system, and also making some reforms so that traditionally there's sort of a point scoring structure on employers based on how many of their employees claim unemployment. Over time, it's sort of making some reforms so that employers are held harmless for the amount of individuals from their company going on unemployment just for this period of this pandemic. Then last thing is we're going to be shifting some focus as well to public safety issues. There's a lot of issues relative to that some police chiefs, including see Chief Gilmet is on this video call, brought to our attention, brought to the legislature's attention. We're going to be passing a bill, especially relative to the time off for officers who are either become COVID-19 positive or need to go into quarantine, both for firefighters and for police officers. Lastly, is next week, the House and Senate, in cooperation with the governor's office, are going to be doing an updated consensus revenue hearing for the state. Certainly, this entire pandemic is completely reshuffling the entire outlook of the state budget for next year. What we can expect for revenues, expecting all of them or nearly every different type of revenue to plummet significantly. So there's going to be a number of leading economists in the state testifying remotely before the Joint Committee on Ways and Means and the governor's office about what to expect. And obviously that's going to be very important because a significant thing upcoming is going to be how the state can support every aspect of businesses, nonprofits, local governments, healthcare providers, you name it. And a significant part of that is going to be what the state is actually going to have for resources to supplement the funding that the federal government is putting forward. So thank you for the time. Happy to take any questions.
Pat, I'd like to start if I could. What was the bill number on the item on Governor Baker's desk right now in municipalities?
Let's see if that, Joe, let me, I'll send that to you. I don't have it right in front of me, that one. There's a cut that changed. I think it was 4618, but I'm not 100% sure, but I'll be sending an email to you and the other town managers with that information.
Pat, thanks, and I apologize. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Your response was perfect. We're just looking for the language. Thank you. Sorry about that. Any questions for Pat? Certainly some tremendous work being done and very needed and helpful. Questions for Pat from Senator Sear? All right. Anyone else items to update on?
Hey, Joe, it's Chief Gilmet.
Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to reassure everybody the PD is up and running, fully staffed and operational. I know that sounds kind of strange, but it's true. They're all doing a great job. I'm extremely proud of each and every one of them for stepping up to the plate and coming in every day and doing the great work that they're doing. So the PD is still up and running, and we've been very, very lucky not to have been impacted to any great extent by illness or quarantine at this point. So we're just going to continue to move forward. If there's any questions from anybody, I can handle them.
Thank you, Chief Gilmet. Any questions for Chief Gilmet? Okay, any other updates or questions? All right, folks, I think it's go ahead. Father Mark, are you looking to say something?
No, just popped in. No.
Very good. Thank you. So I would say this is as good a time as any to begin to wrap up our call this Friday today. That's also a poor signal to Channel 18 that we're going to stop taping in a moment. But before we do that, again, folks, thank you all for everything you do. Keep doing it. Remind your constituencies and the folks that you represent that this will be rebroadcast on Channel 18 soon after the conclusion of this call, and every intention of resuming our call on April 10th, Good Friday. So unless there's any other comments, again, I thank you all for your participation. Please stay well, stay safe, and take care.